Right. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And as promised in our previous lesson, today we are going to be covering modes, the bass modes, right? And at this point, I assume that you already know your major scale and your minor scale, right? If you are a new viewer, please do support us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel and sharing the video with your friends and your colleagues. Right, without wasting much time, let's get into it. Right, the major scale and the minor scale are the foundation, or they are where the bass modes are derived from. Right, so just a quick run through. Right, the major scale sounds and looks something like this. Right, so that's our major scale, and the fortunate part is right, the major scale is also the first bass mode, right? It's known as the Ionian bass mode, right? So when we are playing our major scale, this it's just like do re mi fa sol la ti do, right? So your do is your Ionian, right, bass mode. Then the second note of the scale gives us the second bass mode. In this case, our second note in the scale of C will be D, right? So before I go into the Dorian mode, which is on D, I also want to say that our minor scale is also one of the bass modes, but we are going to meet it later on because it's just like the Aeolian bass mode, which is our number 6, right, in the scale, in the major scale, right? So the major scale is numbered basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 8 and number 1 are the same. It's just a different octave, but it's exactly the same note, right? So now that we have managed to cover our first mode, which is the Ionian, on the key of C, now we can go to our number 2, which is our Dorian mode, right? There are many ways of playing these modes, but for the purpose of today's lesson, I'm going to follow a specific pattern, right? So for today's lesson, right, this is how we'll play our Dorian mode. Right, now that we have covered our Dorian mode, the third key in the scale of C is E, right? And on E, we have what we call the Phrygian mode, right? And this is how you play it. Right, after the third key, we go to obviously our fourth key, right? And in this case, our fourth key is F. Between the third and the fourth key in the major scale, there is a semitone, meaning that you do not jump any key in between. A whole tone is when you are jumping one key in between. So now we move a semitone to F and we play what we call the Lydian mode, right? And this is how you play it. Right, and this is how you play it. right? And then after the fourth, obviously we're going to the fifth key. We move a whole tone to our G, and then we play what we call the mixolydian mode, bass mode. Right. And another thing that you can do between these bass modes is sometimes you can play a few notes from a particular mode and shift to the other mode. Or in a song where you are supposed to play a 4 and play a 5, you can play the the fourth Lydian bass mode going down, and then come up using the fifth Mixolydian bass mode, right? Maybe something like this, just as maybe playing all the notes simple like this. So that's just a basic way that you can actually combine modes, but there are many other ways. You can play any three notes and move to whichever mode depending on the progression of the song that you are playing, right? After the Mixolydian bass mode, we have what we call the Aeolian bass mode. This one is the one that I was talking about. That looks like our natural minor, right? Our minor major scale, our minor scale, sorry. Right, so this is how you play it. From the key of A, that's the next key. That's our number 6 in the scale of C. Right. Then after the Aeolian, we have what we call the Locrine. Right. And if you notice, the Aeolian and Locrine are very much similar, only that the middle notes, they are opposite. Only that instead of sharpening one and and our third key, right? Or maybe instead of moving a semitone from the first key and the third key, you actually flatten the second key and the what you call it and the third key. Right now, our seventh key is what we call the Locrine. The Locrine and the Aeolian have got so many similarities. The only difference is between about two keys, actually. Our two keys, the one between our first and third key, as well as the one between our fourth and fifth and sixth key, right? The position of the second key and the position of the fifth key. That's where the difference is, right? So our Locrine will be playing it on B. That is the seventh note and last note before our root C, right? So this is how you play the Locrine. Right. Then from there, we're back to our Ionian or major scale. Right. And thank you very much for joining us for today's lesson. So just go and practice these bass modes, and then we'll talk about how to apply them and how to utilize them in songs. But maybe just as a heads up, you can play any of these modes whenever maybe the one on the keyboard is playing the third chord. You can actually play your Phrygian mode, of which at times the time is not enough to play all the notes, so you can select a few notes from the Phrygian mode, or where someone is playing a fourth or a fifth or whatever, you can play whichever mode, right? It can also help you in creating your best solos and being creative, variating and spicing your songs, right? Thank you so much for joining us. Have a lovely week. It's always a pleasure and a privilege just to come and share with you guys. I love you so much. Cheers.